if you're trying to learn several languages at the same time, you will have to memorize a lot of vocabulary. You always have to learn a lot of vocabulary, but especially if you're learning more than one language at the same time, because two languages instead of one means double the vocabulary, three languages instead of one means three times the vocabulary, and so on and so forth. So, how do we do this? First of all, you should start planning for your reading and your listening. Start getting some listening time every day in all languages. So, if you've got an hour to listen during your commute or whatever, 20 minutes each language if you're learning three. This particular question, by the way, was about Spanish, French, and Russian. So I'll use this. If you've got other languages you want to learn, send me a request. So, how do we learn vocabulary? Basically, you translate the list, word list, high frequency word list into all three languages. You see that a lot of the words are very similar: actor, acteur, acteur, adulto, adult, not adult, um, er, aire, er, воздух. They're more different in Russian, but some of them are still similar, like April, Abril, Avril, April, uh, Armée, Armia. In this case, Spanish is a different one, but for the most part, like art, art, no, art, art, arte, art, искусство. Um, so how do we do it? Well, first of all, you need to, if they're different enough that you don't recognize them immediately, then you have to associate them. Actor, you don't need to associate it. Um, Aire, you don't need to associate it. You see it in context and you can recognize it. Воздух, you see it in context and you won't recognize it the first time because it's not similar. So this one you'll have to associate it. So you think of air, whatever you can think of that's memorable with air, and then you something that sounds like voz and then duch. By the way, you should learn to read Cyrillic or use the Latin alphabet to write Russian until you learn Cyrillic. But it's pretty easy. This is a V, this is a Z sound, this is a D sound, and this is a H sound. It's pretty easy compared to other writing systems. So you go through the list and you associate the words that are different. Ataque, attack, ataca, easy. Again, agosto, easy. Bebé, easy. Malish, not so easy. So this one you'll have to again associate it. You associate everything. That's gonna be, it's not gonna be 625 times three because again a lot of them are similar, but it's going to be probably over 1,000 words between all three languages. So it's gonna take a while. But associate them, and then you start reviewing. And to review them, you take this other version of the same list where you only see the English word here, and you try to recall the word. Actor was actor in Spanish, acteur, French, acteur in Russian. There you go. And if you missed one of them, then you try to associate it again. Adjectives, adjetivo, adjective, and I have no idea how to say it in Russian because, again, I don't study grammar, so I don't really. Verb, noun, blah, blah, blah. Not interested. Adult, adulto, взрослый, взрослый, yeah, and so on and so forth. And you do it with every word, yeah, tarde, aire, and then you go through the whole list, like apple, manzana, palm, яблоко, manzana, palm, яблоко. Let's say, okay, No, that was Spanish. Let's find one that we don't know. Um, yeah, this one I know. Um, Yet barba. Shit, I don't know how to say that. I should go through the list. Barba, barbe, easy. I should have known that. Boroda. So now I know this one. But just associate it. But I didn't know it, so now I'll think of something with this, some visual image for Boroda. No, actually, you never know in Russian where the stress is until you hear the word. So it could be Boroda or Baroda, probably Baroda. Yeah, and associate that with beard, and I keep going forward. And I go through the whole list, trying to recall active recall. So you, after doing it once, you don't just like read the thing over and over again, which you could do at first if it's way too hard at first. But if you have associated them the right way, you should be able to recall most of them. I haven't associated this particular list for any of the languages, um, although I know most of the words. So yeah, I don't know all of them, but you associate them, then you try to recall. Always use active recall, so you force yourself to remember what it meant. And if you don't know them, you know immediately that you don't know them, and you try to associate them again. Yeah, beer, cerveza, bière, piva, beef, bœuf in French, carne in Spanish, miasa, yeah. Carne de res. Okay, we're going fancy stuff here. This is like, yeah, I guess beef. We never say that. That's really formal though. Bœuf, goviadina. Okay, I guess miasa is just generic for meat. Yeah. Okay. Goviadina. I didn't know that one. Gonna associate it later. Uh, and we do it with the whole list again. And this should take you a few days. You can go through the whole list, associating them in a day or two, and then review the whole list once or twice with active recall in an hour every day. And in a week, you've learned the whole list. And this doesn't mean that you're able to speak the language fluently, of course, but you added a lot of vocab to your vocabulary list. Again, the more vocab you know, the easier it will be to understand the language and to speak it. Most of the vocabulary and grammar learning should be through reading mostly. It's very hard to learn vocab through listening because, yeah, it's just very difficult to distinguish words when you're listening to someone speak, right? So listening should be for reviewing. Do a lot of listening in all languages to review the vocabs, because if you have memorized these words through associations and then review them, and you're also listening to podcasts, some of these won't be useful. This is a frequency list, right? Maybe you don't. Okay, let's find out. Yeah, West, white, wife, wing, winter, woman. Yeah, they're mostly useful, but not all of them will be useful. But you'll hear a lot of them, especially you'll hear the verbs. The verbs keep showing up in this and the other list, in the thousand word list, especially with the advanced verbs. If you're listening to a serious podcast, authentic materials, make sure you learn a lot of advanced verbs because people use them a lot. If you're listening to stuff about whatever you're into, if it's authentic material, native speaker speaking, they use a lot of verbs that you don't know with if you've just been doing basic just if you've just been learning the basics with beginner materials, there'll be a lot of verbs that you don't know. So you'll struggle with authentic materials if you don't memorize a lot of advanced verbs with associations. But yeah, do this and then a lot of listening and breathing in all languages. And that's it. Just keep doing this at first until you understand the language well. Then you can start activating your skills, doing stuff to like speaking skills, different kinds of. There are learning plans for that. But for comprehension, just learn lots of vocab by doing this. Yeah. Associate, then active recall, review them. And then daily listening. And if you keep doing that daily, and how much of each language you should do daily, how much of each language you should do daily depends really on your priorities. If you're traveling to Latin America, then focus on Spanish and do maybe like 50% Spanish, 25-25 with the other two. If you just doing it without a specific goal, then do a third of your time dedicated to each language. If you mostly want to learn Russian because of whatever reason, then do like 50% Russian, 25-25 the other two, or whatever. How much of which depends on your goals, right? Your current goals, or your what the next, the highest priority is right now. All right. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful, and keep sending me questions. I'll try to answer them in the video.